Say to all, hope all are fine. On behalf of IMCT Foundation, we are going to have a small webinar. Relevance of IMCT in the current scenario is the topic. We will be having Sri Gurumurthy ji, who is a Vice Chairman of IMCT and who has given the seed thought for this. He will be explaining to you the relationship between the IMCT 6 themes and today's scenario. Hope you all will enjoy. Thank you.
Namaskaram to all. It's a new model of communication which has been forced by the prevailing situation in which we cannot meet face to face. Technology has helped us to continue not only communication but also sustaining our entire civilization today. If technology were not there, millions of people who are scattered throughout the world will not be able to communicate with their families. And millions of small people, workers, who are strewn in different parts of India, who have been thirsting to go back to their places, would not have been able to communicate to their family, their kith and kin. So in a sense, technology has helped us to keep the human civilization together. And we in IMCT have thought that it is necessary to understand how in the present circumstances the sharing of the thought which has sustained this country for the last several thousand years, which has kept this country together, which has offered a way of life which is critical not only for India but also for the world. And the Initiative for Moral and Cultural Foundation, which commenced its work in the year 2012-13, began exploring this area in the context of not just philosophical exposition but how to cultivate this habit in the young, at the impressionable age, while they go to schools, while they move with each other, in the teacher-student relationship, in the relationship between the management and the teachers, and between the schools and the parents. So it's a kind of a relationship building formula based on certain values. After all, schools exist not for the children to spend their time or for the parents to send their children to home, to school so that they can manage their other affairs. It's not for that. Schools are intended to build character, integrity, honesty, value systems, even as the children are prepared for their future and for the future of the country and the world. But over a period, partly because of the government way of approaching education, but also because of the careeristic mentality which has developed, that education means career. Education doesn't mean anything other than career. And there is nothing in education other than career. Education got reduced to building a person as an engineer or as a chartered accountant or as a lawyer. It has become a mess. And we are seeing the consequences of it, and the countries and the civilizations and the examples from which we drew this idea. If we understand, if we see, if we compare how they are, then we will understand how we should not be. It is not necessary to say today this is a good thing. If you say, if it is not there, this is a bad thing that affects us, it is sufficient to communicate today, because the living models of different countries have been evolving over the last several decades, particularly after the Second World War, and most of us have been tending to follow the West. There is nothing wrong in following the West in some areas where they have something to tell us, something to teach us, something in which they have greater understanding of the world and science and technology, even in human relationship, nothing wrong about it. But to look to everything towards the West has created a huge civilizational gap in our own midst, and that's what the IMCTF is trying to fulfill, to fill that gap and to ensure that we get along as a civilization and be an example to the world. So IMCTF thought about it not in a very limited understanding of how the school going children or how the schools should work, but it had a helicopter view. The helicopter view that we took is that India is not a small country, it's 1/6 of humanity. It has a certain role to play in the humanity, in the human leadership. And if India does not play that role, and if India 1/6 of the human civilization is merely following the work or thoughts of others, then its contribution to the world becomes very limited. But in the last several decades, particularly in the last two decades, India has grown to such an extent. Instead of being a mere pushover, which it was 25-30 years ago, India is now a global power. The global powers say India is a global power. We are a rising economic power, we are a political power, we are an atomic power, we are regarded as an intellectual power. But we do not have an understanding of what role to play in the world with this kind of new position that is emerging for us in the world. Previously we were regarded as slaves of foreign rules. Then we became slaves of foreign thoughts. Now we are emerging on our own, so we must look for what kind of contribution that we can make to the world, and it has to begin seated at the lowest levels or the beginnings of our movement towards a goal in life, and that is the life of a child. So it is with this overarching idea of preparing a child not merely as a student but also as a citizen, but also as some one who is going to play a larger role for the country itself at the global level. This is the bandwidth with which the IMCT began its work. Because why I have to explain it in some detail even at the outset is that many schools, I understand, who are participating in this webinar are not formally in the IMCTF work, and many of them may not know what is IMCTF. So the Initiative for Moral and Cultural Foundation postulated the preparation of India as an emerging global power, and what the Indian education institutions, students, teachers, parents and the entire curriculum should do to prepare a child for its multifarious roles, not just merely a preparation for career. So with this idea, we worked on 6 themes. I am not going to dwell on 6 themes to give you an idea, intense idea about what IMCTF is, but I am going to give a comparative position of what is the world today and what we are, and how important it is for us to preserve our civilization values. You know, we have been naturally looking up to a country like America. In the past 50-60 years, maybe even more. America has held the attention of the world as the country to which everybody should look to if they have to develop. In fact, many countries have millions and millions of applicants for visa waiting to go to America. That is the extent to which America gathered the attention of the world. And it became an educational power, it became an economic power, it became a military power. In every sense of the term, it became one of the most unprecedented powers in the history of the world. And so every country began to look to America to develop itself. That the way to develop is how the Americans are. There are areas where we have to look to not only America, we may have to look to Japan, we may have to look to many other countries to gather ideas, because the world is too wide, the human experience is too vast, that nobody experience is finally conclusive as to this is the best path in the world. And so we have to look to the whole world. But because there have been more attention towards the West, and particularly America, I want to focus my attention on what is the situation in America in the context of the current coronavirus. It emanated from China, and the country which is the worst hit today is America. Almost 2 million people have been infected in America. Thousands and thousands have died. And it is a country which claims to have the best medical attention, the best medical care, and in all sense, human health is regarded in America as supreme. So in that country, the hit is so hard, the whole world is surprised. And in contrast, of course, China I will not look into, because we do not even know how many infections have taken place, how many deaths have taken place, because it will take another 20 years for the world to know what happened in China. Because in 1957 to 61, that nearly 37 to 38 million people died of hunger in China came to be known only after 20 years, but that is the extent to which we have access to information in China. So I will not look at China, but look at India, which is 3 times the size of America, and see how low the infection rates are here. And infection rates are to be judged by how many infections are there per 10 tests. If per 10 tests there is 1 infection or more, then the tests are adequate. But if the infection rate is less than 1 in 10 tests, which means the tests are adequate. In that sense, if you see, in India, for the tests that we have done over 42 million tests, and the infection rate is less than 5%. So it means that we have done adequate tests, and still our infection rate is so low. But in America, the infection rate is as high as 12%. In Brazil, it is as high as 60%, which means they have not done that amount of tests that is needed to find out the extent of spread in the disease. So in terms of death, in terms of the infection rate, we are in a very different position. So all this will need to be studied, whether the best medical care, medical system, immunity is provided by the modern Western medicine, or is there something in the native medical system which is able to give us this kind of protection and immunity. For example, take Kerala, which has preserved the native medical care, and it has been able to not only contain the infection, even those who are infected have not faced even the average 2 to 3% death rate which is there in the world in India, and the death rate in the world is much higher. how is it that Kerala is able to ward off deaths? All this may need investigation as to how the Indian food system or the Indian traditional medical care, there is something in it. The modern medical care has not achieved the kind of low infection, low death rate in India. There must be something more in this country. You see, these all that I am saying as unverified propositions on the basis of empirical data that is available, because being in educational institutions, we are often faced with the idea as to how we should look at, for example, a kashayam instead of a tablet. This is there in our daily lives, in our children's lives. So, a huge question has been raised now as to how we should look at our own civilization. And taking you to another area, you know, there is a country of 1.3 billion people, and suddenly a lockdown is announced. This is the position everywhere in the world. When a lockdown is announced, that may be different in different countries. Every country has undergone this lockdown. Countries which have not announced lockdown, like Sweden, have faced very high infection rates, very high death rates. So lockdown is inevitable in a country like India, more because without lockdown, the last Indian would not have come to hear of the name Corona itself. This Corona is a dangerous thing, became known only because of the lockdown. Otherwise, no amount of advertisement, no amount of TV programs would have communicated this, that this is a danger to us, danger to me. And that is why in UP, 44,000 village sarpanchas came together, had a discussion with the chief minister and said, we will not allow any infected person in our village, and they began quarantining people from outside. That is why the infection rates in the villages, particularly villages which have taken care of, are very low. That means there is a social organization in India which can rise to the occasion, which is not there. There is no panchayat anywhere in the world except in India. There is no social order anywhere except in India. Everybody has to trust only the government, the police, the law, the court. Here we have something functioning. The people can relate to each other. There is family, there is community, there is society. This is something which the political parties have not understood, the intellectuals have not understood, our education system has not cared, but it is working. It's in a functional form. So today we are in a position to activate these social forces which are traditional, which are working, which relate to each other, which a village knows itself. There is a traditional leadership and which has taken charge of the situation, and there are religious institutions, there are community institutions, there are charitable institutions, and they have risen up in thousands to take care of people in need. Take for instance America. In America, there are people who have, who need not have to walk. All of them have a car. And news items have come. Not news items. Earth-shaking news items have come. People in Mercedes and other cars, BMW cars, are in queue for several miles, bumper to bumper, to receive free food. Because cooking has stopped at home. Everybody needs food from outside. Commerce has changed homes. Commerce has changed kitchens. Husband and wife live together biologically. They don't live together culturally. There is no sense of family. With the result, even if you have money, you don't have anybody to cook at home. Cooking is done and distributed by food stores. And if food stores are closed and there is no way you can get food. And another thing, they don't have money to buy food because most of the Americans live on credit cards, and they live on, if they do not have income for 15 days, many of them do not have money. That is the position. And even during the riots it came out that the people do not have money. But the same position is there with us also. But we know how to pull together. You see, about 1 crore of people who are called migrant labor, they should not be called migrant labor because nobody is a migrant in his own country. They are only working in another place. They all wanted to go back where? To their home. And the urge was so high, they were even walking for 200, 300 kilometers, 500 kilometers to go back to their house because it is their home. The sense of belonging to a family is so dominant. Why is it dominant? Because it is a protective safety net. That's why everybody was protected by home, everybody was protected by the community around, everybody was protected by charities, religious institutions and village communities. So, since these were not there and because these things are there, we see two different scenarios. So, this is what reinforced our faith in IMCTF itself, because it's such a major crisis. The crisis, the kind of which the world has not seen and perhaps will not see, and God forbid it will never have such a crisis in future, that this crisis has opened our eyes to what we are and what we want to be. Fortunately, what we are has not been disturbed so far, in spite of what we wanted to be. Our education system teaches us to be just individuals, promoting ourselves and building our career. But what is the relationship between me and my family, between me and the community, between me and the society? This is not in the educational scheme. It is not in the ecosystem of the schools. It is not in the curriculum. With the result, we were producing atomized individuals. Now, if our country had been living as atomized individuals, 130 crore people, there would have been chaos. The country would not have survived. So, we in IMCTF thought that it is time that we re-examine and restated our thoughts, that we have our relationship with nature, we have a relationship with the family, we have a relationship with the community. So all this constitutes the basic founding ideas of IMCTF. I will take only two themes. One is, we emphasize the social and family values in IMCTF. Social and family values are respect for parents, respect for teachers, respect for elders. This constitutes, in our view, the social and family values. And these values are not specially taught in schools. In fact, some of the very specific traditional literature like Atichuri, Konrai Vendan are virtually banned in schools. After 1967, the government of India banned these two great literature which built people like us. So we did not want, or we forgot about the great values of respect for parents, teachers and elders, which has kept our civilization together. And now, if you look at it, it is this institution which became fundamental to our survival during this period. If you look at how we have saved ourselves, everybody's income became common. No one's income remained his personal income. Normally this is the case, more so in this period, and it is not that my income belonged to only my family. Everybody's income became available to everybody else, the near and dear, and that is how we have been able to pull on for the last 2.5 to 3 months. It is no joke that in a country like India with such a huge population, diverse, dense, 500 police stations for 6,68,000 villages and towns. Too small to think of handling this huge problem. How did we manage it? We managed it because of a parallel traditional system. And that traditional system is not law. Police functions on law, courts functions on law, government functions on law, but these traditional systems functions on values. Without values, there cannot be a family. Family is not a boarding and lodging idea. Boarding and lodging is incidental to the family. It's a larger idea. And even boarding is outside the family in America. Multinational companies have taken over cooking. And so, a family is without cooking, which is unthinkable in India. But some families in India are dropping kitchen. They are eating outside. Because this is the world view we have got, that a family doesn't need a cooking model at all. We can get food from outside and eat. These ideas have been very seriously shaken during the corona crisis. That how important is the family is so well understood in this period. That what the IMCTF has been saying, that we have to build these values. How do you build the values? These values are not built by merely a lecture, like what I am doing. It is not built by producing literature. It is built by actually what we call as samskaras, a training which we have received generation to generation. That reverence for parents, reverence for teachers, reverence for elders is what builds the family, and it builds institutions, and it builds a relationship. The teacher-student relationship will have no meaning unless the students have reverence for teacher. It is the reverence for teacher which makes the teacher reverable. If you don't respect the teacher will think it is merely an employment. So we have not so far reduced the teaching profession into a mere career and to a mere employment, because we have still preserved and we are struggling to preserve the respect for teachers. And this is so important in building the value of humility, and it extends to not only the teachers and the students. The parents must also respect the teacher. If the parents do not respect the teacher, then the student will not respect the teacher. In the same way, we are building the relationship between the managements and the teachers. There must be sacredness in the relationship, because the purpose is a larger purpose of shaping the life of the children, not only for themselves, but for a higher idea. Unless you have a higher idea, there is nothing to shape a child except to become a selfish human being. And so we have brought in this value of reverence, imposes duties on people. There is no question of right. IMCTF doesn't believe in teachers' rights, it doesn't believe in children's rights, it doesn't believe in parents' rights. It believes in everybody's duty. We emphasize on duty because our civilization emphasized only on duties. Western civilization emphasized only on rights. And my right to do this, because if everybody in a family begins claiming rights, there will be no family. Family is built on duties of everybody. The parents' duties, the grandparents' duties, the brothers' duties, the children's duties. So, IMCTF whole philosophy, its working methodology, its expositions are based on the idea of duty, which is not being very well articulated in our education system today, but still prevails because of thousands and thousands of years of training that we have received, that we are still preserved in spite of the fact that our educational system, our schools, the way they function, do not actually focus on creating this sense of duty, this sense of reverence, building relationship between people on a higher value basis. It is not there. So when we began introducing in schools the idea of reverence for teachers, which means worship of teachers, initially many schools felt it may not be possible in my school because this is not the way in which we have functioned so far. But once those schools, but what we do is we never force anyone to do it, neither the management nor the school or the students. We only place these ideas before them and they must voluntarily do it. For example, student must voluntarily feel that he must revere the teacher, or this girl must feel she must revere the teacher. And only those students, those teachers and that management, we want them to experiment in the school the Acharya Vandana, as we call it. The teacher is physically worshipped, like we will worship Goddess Saraswati. Once the school took to this samskara, it completely changes the atmosphere in the school. Many schools have experienced, if there are a method of sharing the inter-school experiences through webinars like this, you will know how in many schools the atmosphere has changed, how teachers cried and how the parents felt elevated and how the students felt humble through a very small, simple formula which has been given to us by our forefathers for thousands of years, but we have not forgotten to do it in our own schools. This simple formula of IMCA CTF, which has changed the ecosystem of the school, the behavioral model of the schools, the confidence of the teachers, and the relationship between the teachers and the management, parents and the management, parents and the teachers. This is because that we have revived our roots. It is not something which we have brought from outside, it is something innate to us, it is in us. Respect for parents is a very normal thing, but we have not emphasized on it. We have not, I wouldn't use the word insist, we have not encouraged children to revere the parents. It has become theoretical. Any theoretical idea will cease to be practical. So unless theory is put into practice, unless a child is made, persuaded, encouraged, inspired to revere the parents, the respect for parents will remain merely a theoretical idea, and in a critical time he will feel very different from the parents. In fact, when I was in Arunachal Pradesh, a young engineer met me with his laptop and his father was a tribal. He said, the difference between me and my parent, my father, is 300 years. This is what he told me. I said, the difference between you and people who taught Vedas and Upanishads and wrote Ramayana and Thiruvalluvar is several thousand years. Do you measure it like that? Do you measure your father's experience, his comprehension, that he educated you like this to be 300 years more advanced than you? You must be so proud that my father, who did not have the opportunity of educating me, who did not have the opportunity of educating himself, he has educated me like this. Will you feel that your distance from your father is 300 years? The fellow sat and cried, because that is not taught to him by the school. The school taught him that he is an intelligent man, he is a capable man, he is an engineer, he can operate laptop, his father is an idiot. This is our education system today. I will tell you an experience. I don't want to disclose the identity of a person. He happened to read some of my articles as to how the family is the springboard of our development. How many people sacrifices produces. We don't even look at our neighbors, our relatives, our parents, our brothers. They have all sacrificed. If I am a chartered accountant today, that is because of the sacrifice of many people in my family. But our education system does not make us conscious of it. I will give you one of the most telling examples in my life. About 4 years back, a person rang me up from America and said, 5 years back, He said, sir, I have to come and see you. And it took several months for him to come and see me. So when he came, he just began crying. I said, why are you crying? Sir, I will tell you my life. Then you will understand why I am crying. He was born about 50 or 60 kilometers away from Patna. It's a story. This is a real story. So when he was born, it was such a distraught village. There was nothing, no school, and his uncle, that is father's brother, saw his horoscope and felt he was going to be a brilliant boy. And so he decided not to marry and save his daily earnings to educate this boy in a boarding school in Patna. And so the boy came up very well. He did his matriculation with honors, and then he was put into Pilani. And in Pilani he had his education, and then he went to France. And in France he grew up so much. And now I will mention you the name of the company in which he became R&D chief. That is Sun Microsystems. It's one of the biggest international corporates. And in this entire period he was a brilliant man. He was developing because of his own skills, hard work. And then of course his life took a different turn. Then he came to India to do business in Bihar, and he lost his money. And then his wife, when he was in a very difficult situation, the wife gave him the Ramacharita-manas, in which Hanuman was in a distraught state, and then he finds inspiration from Rama, and then jumps and goes to Sri Lanka and sees Sita. And his wife said, you read this, you will also develop. Then of course he got back his rhythm, and then went and became a very big official in Cisco Systems. Then he said, sir, after I read your article only, I remembered, I internalized the idea that the seed for my development is my uncle. It never struck me. I thought it was just a matter of duty. The elders have to do it. But once he saw how a family, the relationship, the sense of duty only produces such opportunities for others, then I said, sir, first I must come and thank you. And then uncontrollably he cried. This is a living experience of not just a person, the failure of our education system. How badly the education system fails to inculcate basic fundamental values. How I have come up because my neighbors have slapped and corrected me. My teachers have slapped and corrected me. Today teachers do not have the right, not right. They don't even have the mind. Even if you ask them to beat a child, they won't. But if my teacher has not beaten and corrected me, I would not have been shaped. My neighbors have slapped me, as I said. I have been beaten by elders in the family whenever I have done a wrong thing. These are all attitudes which arises from duty. Actually, you correct a child out of affection. Afterwards, you cry. But the entire atmosphere has changed. It has become a matter of right for children. And now, if the teacher punishes a child, the teacher goes to jail. This kind of education system will destroy India. If a parent slaps a child and the parent will have to face police investigation, that society is finished. We are very clear. The IMCTF will voluntarily promote a sense of duty, a sense of surrender for a higher value. Otherwise you can't build values, and it is voluntary. And if you want to build values, you join IMCTF. And with respect for girls, because there is co-education today, you have to build a proper attitude in a boy's mind and in a girl's mind for the schools to function with basic values. Because today you have such communication systems, such magazines, such kind of entertainments available in television, in several apps, unless you shape the mind of a boy and a girl as to how they should approach each other, the answer is not sex education. The answer is a philosophic education. Sex education is not the answer, because the countries which have had sex education have had only the highest number of pregnant children, teenage pregnancies. In America, the teenage pregnancy is something like 20% of the total pregnancies. And people who get children without marriage is 51% in England, 42% in America. It has become very normal. Sex education has not given them self-control. What we want to do is, it is not self-control in the sense of your rigidity. No, it should be very natural. Just as you would see your sister, just as you would see a very superior being. Because women require to be respected in a society. If a society doesn't respect women, that society is finished. This is what happened to the Roman society. The Roman society, which was very powerful, which ruled over the entire world, as Swami Vivekananda said, Roman eagle floated over everything worth having in this world. Today, Roman civilization is to be seen in broken monuments. Vivekananda said, spider weaves its web where the Caesars rule. It is because it did not generate values to sustain its power. If you have power, you must develop values to sustain your power. Whether it is physical power, intellectual power, political power, all powers can be preserved only if there is a value system backing it. And in spite of the fact that we lost power, we still preserved our entire idea of life only because we had value systems underpinning from family to the highest level. That's why this country has been a 5,000-year continuity which is denied to all other civilizations. If anyone wants to know how India has been a continuous civilization, if many people do not even teach in the school that it is a continuous civilization which has been there for several thousand years, Encyclopedia Britannica in the latest version have said that the industrialized civilization which has ceased to exist is connected by the worship of Shiva to the present day, because it is connected by the plough, it is connected by the instruments which are used even today. That is the continuity. So this civilization continued because of generation to generation, methods, values, thoughts, literature have been handed down orally. Leave written literature aside. When did writing come? We don't even know which writing is correct or not. But oral traditions that sustained this great value system has kept us going despite the fact that written literature is against it. The entire magazine system today, the magazines which are being published, newspapers which are being published, the shows which are going on, none of them will help to build values, but still the values are thriving, sustaining us only because of the oral traditions which are still dominant in the society. So respect for women, how does the IMCTF approach this? Women are supposed to be manifestations of the divine. In fact, in our Vedas it is said, it is the women power which created the universe. And women have the creative instinct in them, otherwise there will be no world. And we recognize that in a girl child. And that is why in IMCTF, when we expounded the concept of Kanyavamana, many people said this is not possible. how can a boy or how can anybody be made to revere a girl child? But we said voluntarily anyone can come forward to do it. And when it started in schools, some schools, the school atmosphere changed so much. And the relationship between boys and girls changed so much. The way a boy looked at a girl underwent a dramatic change in the school. The school whole ecosystem changed because of the simple act of how you should look at a girl. How you would look at your sister is the way you will look at other girls. But this is a thought. It has to be given a shape. And that shape is the samskara. Even your child is God. She is the goddess. Once this high value is built into a person's character, into the system of a person, the way he looks at a girl will be very different. And he will be protective of the girl rather than exploitive of a girl. This is not just the IMCT of thought, but the IMCT of model. These samskaras have, in a way, changed not only the individual character of the person who undergoes the samskara, but the institutional character itself. There are schools which will tell you that how in their schools the attitude of boy to a girl and a girl to a boy underwent a change after they began experimenting with the IMCTF themes. This is a greater idea than what I have explained to you, that it is to preserve the relationships in the society. That IMCTF has formulated these two principles. But much greater than this, more important than this, more comprehensive than this, is the human relationship with nature, which is the first three themes: conservation of forest, protection of wildlife, sustaining environment, promoting ecology. These are all, there is a relationship between us and the nature, there is a relationship between us and the tree, there is a relationship between us and the streams, the ponds, the lakes. The world understood it, science understood it much later. But we understood it thousands of years back, and that is why we worshipped water, we worshipped rivers, we worshipped trees, we worshipped animals. And the world recognizes it today. Ecological balance. We have a duty to Mother Earth. We have a duty to the animals around us. And how we should do that, how we should discharge that duty. We have gone to the most important source of it, Isavasya Upanishad. Isavasya Vidam Sarvam. The entire world, the creation is manifestation of the divine. And that divinity you will understand only if you feel that a tree has also life, a plant has also life. Unless you understand it that way, water has life, stone has life. Otherwise you will break it. You will do quarrying, but stones are needed. So, to prevent human beings from over-exploiting the nature, you have to have reverence for nature. Then you will use the word, people turn their tap. We in IMCT have said don't turn the tap, you just have one mug. Turn the water, fill enough water, and then use that mug, and thereafter if you want you turn the tap. Simple thing. This is reverence to water. You have a duty to spend less and less water. When I was in my village, there used to be a lot of water. In fact, during winter, we used to dig wells. In 2 feet we used to get water. But still my mother would say, don't spend water, don't waste water. I always used to think there is so much water, why my mother asked me not to waste water? But today we understand how scarce water is. In those days of abundance, our people thought you should not waste water because you have duty to water. These are all the great values that the IMCTF tries to inculcate through practical training modules called samskaras. In the situation in which we are placed today, the IMCTF module is a very important instrument for every school product, and unless a child is built with the use of the training modules called the samskaras, the child will grow into an automaton, a careerist, maybe divorced from even the family, will have nothing to do with the society. And that will be the end of our civilization, that will be the end of any civilization for that matter. And so the IMCTF is quite keen that we should change the discourse, we should change the atmosphere in the educational institutions, build a new ecosystem by which these values will be sustained, whatever be your system of education. We want to build this outside the curriculum, and that is working. Nearly 300-400 schools in Chennai city are part of this great process, and many of them are undergoing the samskaras and imparting training, changing the atmosphere in the schools, and it has also gone beyond. In about 15 or 16 states all over India, IMCTF ideas have gone and many institutions are following it. I feel that this corona crisis is a context in which we should remember how our traditional values have stood by us, and we should preserve those traditional values by fertilizing them, by watering them, by remembering them, by recapturing them, by reinstituting them and revalidating them. We will have to preserve those values, and it is the bounden duty of everyone who gathers the children to ensure that they imbibe these values. Thank you very much.
Once again, hope you enjoyed. If you have any doubts, any clarification, you can send a mail. We'll try to clear the doubts. I'm sure the value for women would have been learnt by everyone during the lockdown. So the values also will come into existence without any force. And I'm sure the institution of IMCT will be in every house, every street with the blessings of Corona. Thank you.